What is going on?
What's going on with you?
Nothing. Work, and life's pretty boring.
Straight up.
You know?
So we're recording this on Friday evening, so it's our weekend.
Yeah. Weekend.
Yeah.
Another work week done.
Ugh. When is it time to retire yet? It feels like it is.
I know.
I want to work 1 day a week.
Right?
And I want that 1 day I'm working to only be an hour long. And then I want to get paid $1,000 for that week.
That's it?
Well,
okay. That's not asking a lot. I think that's reasonable.
We'll negotiate. It's
okay.
Fine. Yeah.
I was thinking more like $1 million, but maybe
Yeah.
1,000's a little bit more realistic.
Yeah.
I'll take the $1 million though.
Right. I'll take either one.
Right?
Look, if you're feeling generous.
If, if Bezos or Elon Musk, they have a lot of money just lying around.
What are they literally doing with that money?
I don't know.
Well, if you don't know, then who does know?
I don't. Who would know?
I have no idea.
The world may never know.
They just might not.
It's a shame, really.
Yeah. Crazy.
But I agree. I already feel like retiring.
Yeah. Why does I swear every once in a while my back will hurt and I'm like, I'm older.
I feel that.
Right?
I do. Maybe it's like not sometimes my back does hurt. But what is it? Like I'll do random things where I'm like, I'm doing that slower. I'm getting older.
Right. It's just not fun.
Did you remember when 30 seemed so old?
Yeah.
And now you're like,
it still does.
I know. I feel old.
Straight up. I don't know.
Some 80-year-olds listening to this going, you feel old?
Right.
Yeah. Why would you feel old?
Right. So I just had my first employee event at work, which is exciting. And it was the first time, one of the first times I was actually able to see other human beings.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because like I said before, I've been working from my apartment and everyone else has. So
yeah. What did you guys do?
It was just this was last night, Thursday night, and we just got together in the parking lot of the building. There's a big tent set up, and there was just music and food and stuff, and we just were able to talk and chat and stuff. So it was good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Were the people nice? And
yeah, for sure. I was able to see at least a few of the people that I work with, and also the senior vice president of the company who helped get me my job here. So
nice.
Yeah. So I'm like, hey, listen, about that raise, what you got?
So
Look, right now it's all right, but it can be better.
So if you want to just bump it up.
Yeah, this is just between you and me, right?
I wouldn't complain.
Look,
I'm just throwing it out there, bro.
Look, $1 million a week, is that asking too much?
Right? You can, listen, I do a lot for this company. You can
Right. A little bit.
just a little bit. Just a little bit.
Yeah.
That's fun though.
Yeah, for sure. How's work going for you?
You know, kind of getting a little overloaded with clients, so that's always fun.
Right.
But funny, one of my clients was complaining about their belief that no one should have to work 5 days a week. And our government should be paying a living wage for everyone. Like minimum wage needs to be living wage, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just sitting there going, uh-huh.
Yeah. You don't say.
Cool. However, that's not realistic right now. So what are you going to do?
Right.
Like, this is the kind of crap I have to listen to.
Ridiculous.
Although she did say something interesting that I did not know. Did you know that it is illegal in Japan to bring in Adderall?
It's crazy.
Even if you have a prescription for it?
That's crazy.
I did not know that. I thought it was kind of fascinating. I was like, huh.
So are you able to bring in Dividerol? Ah,
Oh my god, what if you just change that on the label?
well, I'm able to bring it in now. Come on.
I upgraded. I can now divide.
Right. That's right.
So I can bring this in.
Right. Oh my gosh. Have you heard about those people that like they get stopped at the gate with like a bottle of whiskey? So instead of throwing it out, they just chug it all?
No.
Yeah, I've heard some people that do that. Because like they chug it all and then they're like, well, I don't have the bottle anymore.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. They're gonna have a really good flight.
I was gonna say it's gonna make for a short flight because you're gonna be passed out.
Right. I wonder, I mean, I'm sure that altitude like affects that too. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure it makes you feel it more.
Right.
Wouldn't you think?
I would assume so. Because like there's less air. I mean, I know the cabin's pressurized, but I don't know if that would make a difference.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm gonna have to ask someone.
I've never been drunk on a plane.
Can't say I have either.
We should ask Dirk Bentley.
Probably.
He would know.
You're probably right.
Wrote a whole song about it. So
Did he?
he did.
Wow.
Called Drunk on a Plane.
Hard to get more obvious than that.
Just in case you didn't know what the song was about.
It's a mystery for me now.
I know. He likes to leave the song titles very elusive.
Right. That makes sense.
You know, just leave it open for interpretation. So it's so fine.
Right.
I've never really been. Interesting. We shall Google and report back later.
This is enough. I mean, kind of the opposite of that. I wonder if you were in a submarine deep underwater and drunk.
Oh.
Would there be different effects then?
Interesting.
We're getting into the real questions.
Although, okay, so I just Googled it and I feel like this would be the same for like if you're in a submarine.
Yeah.
It says you won't actually be more drunk. You'll just feel like you are because of I don't know. It says the lightheadedness that comes with breathing high altitude air. with lower oxygen levels.
Okay.
So I'm assuming at any altitude difference, you're probably gonna feel it a little bit more just
Yeah.
because of the altitude difference.
Right. Interesting.
I mean, it's a good thing because you don't need as much alcohol, so you don't have to spend as much money.
There you go. Look at you go.
Plus side.
You know who we need to figure this all out is Bill Nye the Science Guy.
Bill.
That's right.
He would know.
Probably.
He would.
He's got to.
I've heard he's smart.
Yeah.
I've heard he knows lots of scientific-y things.
You don't say.
I don't know where I heard that from, but
Right. Right. I mean, that makes sense.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
It's a rumor.
Right. Anyway, what are we talking about?
We're gonna podcast about podcasts,
So meta.
right?
So cool.
I know. It's like Inception.
It is. Going deeper down.
Right?
So, what are some of your favorite podcasters?
Podcasters?
Yeah.
Are
there any that you listen to?
Okay. So I'll say I have podcasters that I enjoy but podcasts that I enjoy, and they can be different.
Yeah.
So my podcasters, I do think Dax Shepard does a good job.
Yeah, I listen to him too.
Yeah, I think he does a really good job.
Plus just the fact that he grew up in a close area to where we did.
Yeah, it makes it cool.
Yeah, for sure. Because I've heard him talk occasionally, like just referencing the area that he grew up in, and he's like, I know that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I know what you're talking about. Like you.
Let me say, like, his mom was on it, and they were talking about, and I don't know, there was lots of references there where I was like, I know that road.
Right.
Because he said like Taft Road, and my friends lived on Taft Road.
Yeah.
And I think that's not Milford. I think that's Highland. But either way, I was like, I know that road.
Right.
I know, and it is cool.
Yeah, for sure.
And then he said Central High School, which is like 5 minutes from me, and I was like, yeah.
That's right.
So he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I also like I don't know. He's the only one that I think does a really good job at like interviewing.
Yeah, for sure.
He doesn't talk about like I think that's what I like about him, because he doesn't ask like the obvious questions.
Right.
But do you have any favorites?
So I've listened to the Joe Rogan podcast.
I've heard that's good.
For me specifically, like it's the people that I know that are being interviewed, because I feel like Dax Shepard, like you can listen to like anyone, even if you don't know them necessarily, because it's fun. Maybe. But
I mean, for me, I still listen to only the people that I know with Dax, but I would agree.
But for Joe Rogan, he has a lot of people on there that like I've never heard of in my life. So it's like I tend to just skip over those. But yeah, he has had a few like celebrities and also like some scientists and stuff. Like I know specifically he had Elon Musk on a little while back, and that was very cool to listen to.
I was gonna say that had to have been interesting.
Yeah, just have him talk about like space travel and the Tesla cars that he has and all that. It's cool.
Yeah.
And his podcasts are longer. Like the Elon Musk one is like 3 hours.
Wait, it's 3 hours?
Yeah. I mean, most of them are around 2 hours, but his is 3. So.
Well, I'm sure he had a lot to talk about.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I could, and that's kind of crazy though. 3 hours is a long podcast.
Yeah, for sure.
But I guess it gives you like a good amount of like, it's not like a short one. I'd rather have it be long.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, what was I gonna say? So I'll have to check his out. That sounds good.
Yeah. How about any other podcasters for you?
Let's see who I think.
Well, you know who there is. Dom Monahan and Billy Boyd.
I didn't even listen. You knew.
Their podcast, The Friendship Onion.
Duh.
Yeah, it's new. Like it's a newer podcast. But it's awesome.
I still need to listen to it.
Yeah.
I still need to.
You got
It's
to.
on my list. It's on my list. I'm going to.
Yeah.
I also, I mean, I listen to political podcast, but I listen to Ben Shapiro.
Okay. I didn't know he had one.
Yeah.
Rock on.
And his is kind of interesting.
Yeah.
When you're like, if you're in the mood for like a political thing.
Yeah.
His is really good. He's a good podcaster. I think.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think that's about it for like who I like as podcasters.
Yeah. Well, I'm a huge fan of the Bill Burr podcast, though. Like, he posts on Mondays and Thursdays, which is cool, and it's great.
Ooh, twice a week. Okay.
Yeah, for sure. The Thursday one is shorter, but I mean, it's still good.
What is it about?
So he just kind of rambles about stuff that's going on in his life. He likes to talk about sports every so often, which I kind of skip over. And then he reads some advertisements, which having Bill Burr read advertising is hilarious. And then he usually has people write into the podcast and like just ask questions, ask advice, tell them a story or whatever, and it's cool.
Okay.
Because like he reacts to it in a very Bill Burr way, so it's great.
I love it. That's another one that's on my list.
Yeah, he's been doing that for many years.
He's like an OG podcaster.
Yeah, it's like a 10-year-old podcast, I think.
Oh dang!
So,
really OG podcaster.
Yeah, for sure.
I feel like I would like his better because Anna Faris kind of did the same thing where she would like give people advice.
Yeah.
And a lot of times I was in grad school when I would listen to it.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like the whole podcast, and I used to get so mad because I was like, you can't give people this advice.
Right.
You don't know the whole story. You could be ruining something. And I think I don't know. So I didn't like her as a like her podcast.
Yeah.
So I don't listen to it anymore, but I think Bill Burr giving people advice would be hilarious.
Oh, it's great.
It's on my list.
Yeah, it's lit. For sure.
Show. I mean, and he's just great anyways, so.
Right.
You can't go wrong.
You really can't.
Mm-mm. Oh, I lied. Another podcaster I like is Brian Baumgardner.
Okay.
So he's from The Office.
Rock on.
and he does like an office podcast with like he brings in like the cast and everything, or sometimes, but like
Yeah.
he's just so, I don't know. I just love him.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, because there's other, which I'll talk more about this later, but there's another office podcast and I like them, but I like Brian's a little better.
Right. Yeah. Makes sense.
His is good. So,
Yeah.
what about you? Any other podcasters?
That's about all I listen to, really.
Yeah.
There was one that I used to listen to. It's like the last podcast on the left, something like that. And they kind of went into like conspiracy theories and stuff.
I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a pretty popular one. I didn't listen to it for very long, but it was pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, it was, I think I must have listened to one that I was like, this is pretty far-fetched.
Right. Yeah.
But it was still good.
Yeah, definitely.
I like conspiracy theories.
Yeah. For sure.
That's shit. Are there any like podcasts, not necessarily like podcasters, but like themes of podcasts that you like?
No. Like going into like conspiracy theories and like horror stories is kind of cool. I know like you and I have gone through true crime stories, which is fun. So
I like true crime podcasts. Yeah.
stuff like that is fun. And then stuff like Bill Burr, where he just gives advice in like his own style. Like that's very fun to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I have to be in the mood for a true crime
Yeah.
podcast, but I like those a lot. And a good funny one's always good to listen to.
Yeah, definitely. For sure. Yeah, man.
What are some of mine? So like I said, the true crime. There's a couple of really good true crime ones that I like. And then I just, I don't know. Do we want to get into each one individually?
I mean, we could if you want to. I don't care.
I don't care. So one that, have you heard of, it's called Serial.
No.
It was like a really popular one. That was a true crime one that was so good. Spoiler alert. It's about this guy. This was happened in like the 90s, the crime.
Cool.
But this guy, what was his name? Anyway, while I'm looking up, I'll continue. He was convicted of his of the murder of his girlfriend while he was in high school. And it's a cool podcast because like I swear each episode you go back and forth on if you think he's guilty or not.
Okay.
Like they present evidence like there's no way he could have done it, this and that, and then the next episode, and they don't do it where it's like so flip-floppy.
Yeah.
Like they're not trying to push the flip-floppiness, but like I mean there might be, they're just doing a really good job at like being subtle about it, but
Yeah.
you go I don't know, you go in between like feeling like he's innocent and then feeling like he's guilty.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
And it's an interesting one because they're still trying to get him out of jail today.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I love some good true crime.
Right. Was there a true crime podcast? Which ones do you listen to?
I mean, I usually just listen to the ones that I said. So I mean, not really any specifically about true crime, I guess.
Is
So
each episode like a different case kind of thing?
um, for the conspiracy theory one, or which one?
Oh, true crime.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess I don't really listen to like specific podcasters about true crime.
Yeah, I don't either.
So I guess in terms of podcasts, I haven't heard a whole lot.
Uh,
Yeah. Yeah, in terms of like true crime and stuff, like I don't know if you heard about it, but there's actually a hotel in Los Angeles that has had like a bunch of crime and stuff in it.
Sicily?
Um, I mean, I'm sure it is. Yeah, the Cecil.
Oh, that's right, the Cecil.
Yeah. Yeah, but I guess just like a lot of crazy stuff has gone on there.
Yeah, I watched the Netflix documentary on it.
Did you?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
There's a podcast on it though?
No, that's just one that I've heard of, like a story that I heard of.
Gotcha. Okay. Okay.
There is a true crime podcast though. Well, not a podcast, but it's on Netflix as well. It's about this wife and two daughters of this guy that ended up murdered. And the evidence doesn't directly point to the husband. I mean, long story short, spoiler alert, like he did it.
Wait. Is this something to do with a ladder?
A
Or
ladder. A
is
ladder.
this might be a different podcast or a different Netflix thing.
Not a ladder. No.
The Staircase. Sorry, not a ladder. This is it called The Staircase?
No.
Oh, okay. That's a different one then.
Okay. But yeah, this guy ended up killing his wife, who was pregnant, and two daughters, who were very young. I guess the story was, I don't know, like they had gotten into it, like an argument. They were basically kind of towards the end of their marriage, and they were having some like relationship breaking argument, and he just like lashed out and basically killed her. And then apparently like he had to finish the job, so he killed the kids too.
Naturally.
Yeah. And then he obviously had to bury the bodies somewhere, so he went through like he did like construction somewhere, or like different jobs or some outdoor things. So he basically went to the site and buried the bodies there. So after they were murdered, like the next day, like one of the wife's friends called her and like just wanted to talk or whatever, and she wasn't picking up, so like she was getting freaked out. She went over to the house. There was nobody answering, there was nobody there, so she called the police, and they came, but like they couldn't like enter without like probable cause, or like without a warrant or whatever it was. So eventually the husband was called, and obviously like he's covering the whole thing up, acting natural. And like he basically allows him to come in because of course he would do that because he doesn't want to make it seem like he's the killer.
Right.
And he's like being very nice, being very agreeable, and like just giving all the information that he can without giving himself up. And apparently like the friends who are there told the police in private that he was acting very weird, that he is usually pretty quiet, but he was like but he was talking a lot around that time, which is weird. And like just little details that made him seem suspicious. So eventually time went on and more evidence was kind of piling up against him. Not evidence, just suspicions. So they were able to like hold him like in court or wherever he was, and they did a lie detector test with him to ask if he knew anything. And they said, if it shows that you're telling the truth on all this, that you really don't know what's going on, then basically you're good to go. But if it shows that you're lying for any of these things, then, we got to go off what it says. And he was shown as he was lying about a bunch of stuff. And I think the guy's dad was there. So the person who was running the lie detector test basically said, like, this came back showing that you're lying about a lot of things. Like, do you have anything to confess? Like, we know that you're lying about all this stuff, that you're covering something up. And the guy was like, still like, no, like, I'm telling the truth. So they leave him alone in the room with his dad, and he basically confesses everything to his dad. That he eventually gets like emotional about it, and he's like, I don't know what happened. I just lost control, and like this all happened.
Please tell me this was all on camera.
Oh, it was.
What an idiot.
And then obviously, like, now his dad knows, so he just confessed to the camera and to the dad. So they came back in, and they basically were like, yeah, we're gonna have to move forward with this whole process. And yeah, he eventually served 3 life sentences, something like that. So yeah.
Wow.
Oh, and they also showed a satellite image of the site where he buried the bodies.
Uh-huh.
And he drove out with the police to basically recover the bodies. And he had to point out where exactly he buried them. Yeah, man.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Just yikes.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's crazy.
Yeah, for sure.
There's something kind of similar. I mean, he didn't kill the children, but have you heard of The Staircase on Netflix?
No.
So it's kind of very similar where I think it was in the early 2000s, like either 2000, 2001, 2002, like that early. There was this I don't know how well known, but he wasn't just like an amateur novelist. Like he was a bigger novelist.
Yeah.
His wife died in his house, and he claimed that she just perished down after falling down the stairs at their home.
Well, obviously.
But the medical examiner said no, she had been beaten with a weapon.
Yeah.
He then came up with this elaborate story of, I believe it was an eagle.
Okay.
That was in their house and clawed at her.
I mean, obviously.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, he just came up with all these elaborate stories of why those beat marks would be there, blah, blah, blah. He literally, so all the police knew he did it.
Right.
Police were like, nope, straight up. But because he was a famous novelist, he had money, he got let off.
I mean, of course.
And then he kind of did an O.J. Simpson thing and wrote a book about it.
Well, you have to.
Right? I think there's a podcast on it too, but I think there is.
Yeah.
It's just craziness.
Yeah. There was a story. This was actually kind of recent, like within the last couple of years or so, if that, where there was a kid basically like street racing. And he had like multiple like warnings that like he should stop by police, but he kept doing it. And he eventually like hit a mother and her son and her daughter like in a car and killed them both.
Ooh.
And obviously he's sentenced to jail for like a long time. And it was like a young kid, like he was 20 years old, something like that.
Ugh.
So just like going to jail, and like you can see his reaction in the courtroom when he got sentenced, like just complete like fear and shock and stuff. So yeah, I mean stuff like that is crazy too.
Oh yeah.
For sure.
It's kind of like, at least with that one, like you feel bad because like understandably this whole kid's life is ruined now.
Right.
But like he murdered someone.
Right.
You killed someone with your car. Like,
Come on.
or that's tough.
Right.
What is let me see. There's a true crime podcast that I listened to where each different episode is like a different crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
What's it called? I'll have to find it. But there's one, it's actually based on a doctor in Michigan.
Okay.
Apparently it was big, like I'm sure your parents remember it. My mom did.
Okay.
But I mean it was when we were old enough we should know about it. But
Yeah.
it's called Dr. Death. And it's literally, so it's kind of a crazy story. This doctor was a I think he I don't know. I'm not exactly sure his whole medical background, but
Right.
he became a cancer doctor.
Okay.
And basically he was faking a lot of patients' tests to say they had cancer and giving them cancer treatment, like giving them chemo
Yeah.
when they didn't need chemo,
Well, cool.
and taking that insurance money.
Yeah.
And I mean, he did it to so many people. So all these healthy people are now getting chemo.
Yeah. I wonder how that affects you.
It killed people
Yeah, for sure.
because your body, so it's like hard. Basically, these people kept getting like frailer and fragile,
Right.
and like,
Yeah.
and then I think he's still practicing today.
You don't say.
I think there's some controversy over like what happened. I know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
I know he's not where he should be.
Right. Yeah.
With his medical license revoked.
Yeah.
But I mean, because like it was a crazy thing. Like I couldn't imagine.
Right. Yeah, that's crazy.
It was, I mean, just listening to it, you're like, because these people would try to like get him.
Yeah.
And like, because like there's a story, one girl, she was a nurse, and he had opened up his own like, I don't know what you call them, but like cancer centers.
Yeah.
And she went and applied for an interview there, and she like noticed like with chemo, because it's such a harsh like chemical
Yeah.
or whatever, I don't know if that's the right word, that you're dealing with, like most of the nurses, when you're handling it, like you put gloves on and you put it in a like a hazard waste basket, right?
Yeah.
And you're supposed to have a hazard waste basket at every chair, and they didn't. They were just like, she's like, that was my first suspicion. And then I think like the more she saw, the more she was like, no, this isn't being run properly. Like something's going on.
Yeah.
So it's an interesting one.
You don't say.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it's called, I can't remember. I'll find it. Is there any other ones that you?
I guess not that I've heard of, really.
Any of the cool conspiracy theories? Ones that you want to talk about?
I guess just not I guess just like the obvious ones.
Which might be another podcast we can do.
Yeah. Ooh, okay. So aliens.
Ooh, yeah.
They're out there. They gotta be.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Right. Just like an infinite universe and we're the only ones in it, like that. I mean, come on.
I mean,
Like there's a 50-50 shit chance, right?
Listen, there's so much more out there that we probably don't even know.
Right.
There's gotta be other living
organisms.
beings.
Something.
Yes.
Right.
Like there has to be.
Yeah. They've got something going on in Area 51.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Really? The government's trying to hide something? Yeah, like that's never happened before.
Government hide something?
How dare they?
Listen. No way. The government is so trustworthy. I don't know what you're talking about.
And why would it be in the middle of nowhere? I mean, it just happens to be in the middle of nowhere.
Just saying.
On that.
Also, what are your thoughts on, oh my God, what are they called? When the little, why am I blanking? What they do in the cornfields.
Oh, the crop circles?
Yes.
I don't know if that's related or if that's just people trying to convince everyone that aliens are real.
Okay.
Like if it's real, then sure, I'll buy it. But like, I feel like a lot of people are trying to make something happen that's not really happening. I don't know.
I mean, I can see that.
Yeah.
Or yeah, like people just want,
Right.
they're bored because they live in the cornfields.
Right. That makes sense.
And they're just like, yo, let's do this.
Yeah, for sure.
So this is who it wasn't. Have you ever heard of him? Dr. Fata?
It sounds familiar.
Yeah. Okay. Because he worked in, where did he work? Anyway. he committed one of the largest healthcare frauds in the US.
Well, cool.
I just wanted to say that because I just found that's who it was. The podcast is Dr. Death, and I think it's season 2.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's the one podcast, Aliens, is that I've never listened to, but I've always wanted to.
Yeah, for sure.
Aliens always kind of creep me out, so I haven't really looked into it, but
Right. Yeah.
do you have a good podcast for aliens?
Not really, but there is a movie. I don't know if you've heard of it called The Fourth Kind.
It sounds familiar.
It's with, I forget her name, but it just kind of deals with like alien abductions and all that, and like the possibility of that. So it's kind of
Interesting.
like a suspenseful thriller movie. So yeah,
Interesting.
yeah,
I might have to look that up.
yeah. I have to search who's stars in it. Oh, yeah, it's Mila Jovovich.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
I've seen Alien
Yeah,
and I've seen Signs,
yeah, right.
but I'll have to look that one up.
Okay.
He seems good.
Yeah. Another conspiracy theory is that there are scientists out there that are like, look, there's a 50-50 chance that the Matrix is real.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I've never seen The Matrix.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, you have to now.
Okay. I'll add it to my list.
Yes. You have to.
So what do you think on that? Like, where do you stand on that conspiracy theory?
Look, I'll just say that if that happened, I wouldn't be surprised.
Okay.
I think that's like one of those things that makes me nervous to think about, like you with aliens. But I
Yeah.
could, if it happened, I'd be like, okay, I'm not surprised.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, like yeah.
Michelle.
Well then. One conspiracy. See, I listen to the conspiracy theories that are like the government killed JFK.
Yeah, right.
Or like Kurt Cobain didn't kill himself.
Right.
Those are the conspiracy theories where I'm like, yes, I agree.
Furbies are possessed.
Well, that's not a conspiracy theory. That's just facts.
That is just facts.
That is just straight facts. And any 90s kid knows it.
That's right.
Cool. There's one, maybe it's the one you mentioned. Let me see. My brother-in-law listens to it. It's definitely not called the conspiracy theories.
Right.
I've been, while I'm looking, the Generation Y podcast.
Okay. Rock on.
And that, it breaks down theories.
Okay.
Like each, yeah. There's another one I've heard is really good called Stuff They Didn't Want You to Know.
Oh, okay.
And they talk about, like, when I was reading the description earlier, I think they were saying, like, it can be anywhere from, like, UFOs to, like, psychic powers, like government history, you know.
Yeah.
Just, you know, they kind of go over that.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah. What other podcast? But other than that, I don't listen to those kinds of podcasts too much anymore. I've been listening to, it seems like over quarantine, there's been a couple shows that a couple of the stars like literally go episode through episode.
Okay.
And podcasts about it.
Yeah.
So One Tree Hill, they just started it.
Yeah.
Like a month ago, where the three of the main girl characters are literally watching every episode.
Yeah.
And they podcast about it, like what they remember about filming the episode. They do it differently than the two of the girls from The Office do. Like the two girls from The Office, I think the podcast is what we call The Office Ladies.
Yeah.
They literally break down the episode a little bit more, where they'll be like, and then Michael does this.
Yeah.
And then this is a scene where Michael goes, you know, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Which is kind of interesting, but they also give you really cool behind the scene kind of things.
Yeah.
And they have a lot of the writers in there, like on there, to like say like, oh, this is why we wrote it. This is how we came up with the scene. So that's kind of cool.
Right.
Then obviously, like I mentioned earlier, Brian Baumgardner's has his Office one. But those are kind of the main ones I've been listening to lately, actually.
Oh.
They're kind of interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds lit.
Kind of like a podcast where like you don't need to pay like full attention to.
Yeah.
You can kind of have it on in the background.
Right.
And not care if you're missing like anything.
Yeah, for sure.
Half the time I get bored when they're talking about it. I'm like, yeah, I know what happens.
Right. Yeah.
I've seen the episode.
Right.
But it's kind of cool, like, if you haven't watched the show in like a while and you're a big fan.
Yeah.
You can kind of go through it differently. Like, you can feel like you're rewatching it, but from a different perspective.
Yeah, for sure.
That's cool.
Rock on.
It's cool.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
I think those are really the podcasts that I listen to.
Yeah, same here.
Listen, the ones, are there any that you like tried to get into but you just couldn't?
No, I think, well, that last podcast on the left, I listened to for a little bit, but I just didn't keep up with it, and I probably should, because it seemed like there's cool stuff in there. So I'll have to give it another try. But
Trying it again?
yeah, I don't know. I don't listen to podcasts a whole lot, but the ones that I do, I listen to all the time.
That's exactly how I am.
Yeah. Like yeah, the Friendship Onion and Billboard's podcast I listen to every week. And then the others I listen to like kind of every once in a while.
Okay. Yeah, I'm kind of similar. Like I listen to The Office Ladies on my way to work.
Yeah.
All the time. Just because I have a shit ton of episodes that I need to like catch up on.
Yeah.
From them. But I do listen to the One Tree Hill one once a week. I'm all caught up with that one. So like when a new episode comes out.
Yeah.
I used to listen to Ben Shapiro whenever he would put one out a week, but
Yeah.
no.
Right.
No.
That's right.
I've had enough politics. So
Right. Crazy.
well, yeah. Because I'm if I'm not in the car, I don't listen to them.
Yeah. For
I
sure.
don't know if you're like that, but I just don't.
Yeah, usually. Same thing for me.
Yeah, man.
For sure. I don't know. I guess that's about it.
Yeah, that is about it.
Yeah.
I feel like we need to listen to podcasts more.
Well, maybe one of these podcasts we can do conspiracy theories. Yeah,
I'm down.
for sure.
I can tell you all about the Kurt Cobain conspiracy theory
There you go. Yeah,
because I know all about it.
for sure.
No, that sounds like a good idea, and it will
Yeah.
be interesting.
Yeah, sounds good.
For sure.
Sure. Well, I guess that's about it for the podcast.
Yeah, man.
All right. Well, we will talk with all y'all next time, I guess.
Yeah. Have a good weekend, or when
Week.
this comes out, a good week.
Yeah. All right. We will talk to you guys later.
See ya.